Okay, let's get started. Okay, so Monday, August 19th, 10 a.m., we'll call this meeting of the Podiatric Medical Examiners Advisory Board, the TDLR, in order. And just some housekeeping things. Mute your mics if you can. Sometimes there's some reverb, it makes some weird noises. And there's some background noise, if we can minimize that. And then, even though I can see your names and everybody can see your names, for the minutes, be sure and say who you are when you start speaking. That helps doing the minutes, keep them a lot cleaner. Okay. So, Angelica, can we start with the roll call?
Yes, sir. Dr. Campbell?
Here.
Dr. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Lunsford? Dr. Martin?
Here.
Dr. Peach?
Here.
Kristen Lucky?
In order.
Here.
Yvette Hernandez?
Here.
Sirenia Terrazas? And presiding officer, Dr. Travis Motley.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for doing that. Also, agenda item C, approval of the minutes. I should have gotten those minutes. And if you had reviewed those or have any concerns or questions, let us know. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve those minutes from the meeting of May 13th of this year.
Motion to approve.
Dr. Campbell? Okay.
Second.
Can I get
Second,
the name?
Dr. Martin.
Dr. Martin. Thank you.
Second.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor, aye, or just raise your hand so it makes it easier.
Can I do a
for
roll
them that
call
are
just so I
looking
can
at the videos.
make sure?
Please do a roll call. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, just so I can catch everything. Dr. Campbell?
Here. Yes.
Dr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Martin?
Yes.
Dr. Peach?
Yes.
Kristen Lucky?
Yes.
Yvette Hernandez?
Yes.
And presiding officer, Dr. Motley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I'm
Okay.
so sorry to interrupt. This is Wendy Pello, Senior Assistant General Counsel. Can I please ask all the board members to turn on their cameras as well during the meeting? Thank you.
Okay. That was agenda item C. D is public comment. Did we receive any public comment since the
No,
agenda went out?
No, sir.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Staff reports. Agenda item E. We'll start with the licensing division. Regina.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Regina Horton, and I am one of the team leads for the health professions licensing team. I will be providing you the statistics for the podiatry licensing program. You should have a copy of the report in front of you. So for third quarter fiscal year 2024, we issued a total of 27 licenses. We renewed a total of 60 licenses with 60%, 100% renewed online, 60 licensees renewed online, I'm sorry. We had a total population of 1,241, and for podiatry radiological technician licenses for fiscal year 2024 third quarter, I'm sorry. We issued a total of 15 licenses, renewed a total of 22 licenses, 21 licenses were renewed online with 96%, and the total population was 204. And this concludes my report. Do we have any questions?
Okay. No questions for Regina. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
Short and sweet. I love it.
Thanks.
That was agenda item E1. E2, customer service division. Patricia.
Hi, good morning, advisory board members. I'm Patricia Castellan, manager in customer service. I'll be sharing our contact statistics today. Our report shows the number of phone calls received during fiscal years 2023 and 2024. The low count emails are due to routing, as they are automatically sent to the licensing team for assistance. So that concludes my report, and I'm open for any questions.
Okay. No questions. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
You beat Regina. It's excellent. All right. E3 Enforcement Division, Mr. Perez.
Good morning. Good to see everybody again. My name is Pedro Perez Jr., and I am one of the senior prosecutors in the Enforcement Division. I'm here to provide you with the enforcement report. For this report, the materials are organized to compare fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024 through June of each fiscal year, which is 10 months. As we get started, I want to refer you to the top of page 1, where you have the division's performance measures. One of the things I wanted to point out is that the average time for closing complaints went down from 242 days in fiscal year 2023 to 206 days in fiscal year 24. The next section is a criminal history review for applicants who may have disqualifying criminal history. These cases are handled by our criminal history prosecutors. I do want to highlight that applications for a license by persons with criminal history has decreased slightly between fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. The next section deals with where enforcement division's complaints come from, whether they're from consumers or from within the agency. As you can see, the amount of complaints coming from consumers in this category more than doubled between fiscal year 23 and 24. The number increased from 23 in fiscal year 23 to 59 in fiscal year 24. We now move to the top of page 2, which puts into a pie graph chart the number of cases open and their source through fiscal year 2024. As indicated by the pie chart, 39 of the 41 complaints, opened in fiscal year 24 come from a consumer complaint. The next section details our caseloads within our enforcement division. You can see the caseloads for the Department for Podiatrics in this section. Do want to point out that we opened more cases, 41, in fiscal year 24 than we did in fiscal year 23, which was 33. The next section is the orders issued section. This section includes the different types of orders that may be used in POD cases by enforcement. In fiscal year 2024, we've had 2 orders issued. One was an agreed order and one was a default order. The next section is the penalties and consumers remedy section, which details how many fines were assessed versus actually collected and shows you the average penalty on those cases. We next turn to the top of page 3, and there have been no licenses with disciplinary sanctions so far for fiscal year 2024, and none for the same period for fiscal year 2023. The next is the cases closed without disciplinary action is the next section. We actually have fewer cases in this category. In fiscal year 24, we had 21, and fiscal year 23, we had 37 for the same time period. The next section is alleged violations at opening. These are just the reasons the case is open on the front end. The following section details violations which resulted in disciplinary action. These are the type of cases that forced them to action on. So far in fiscal year 2024, the number is 3. Next, I provided 2 case highlights. This is a summary of 2 cases that enforcement worked on during this period that we're covering for this report. I also want to mention that during the last meeting that we had, there were numerous questions asked about experts that we have that assist us with these cases. And at your request, I did double check on that. And we do have experts that work with us in this area. We have currently 6 experts that assist us with these cases. So that will conclude my report. And I'm ready to attempt to answer any questions that y'all may have at this time.
Okay, I don't have a question, Pedro, but I do have a comment on that. Great job in decreasing the time to close those cases. I mean, if I go far back enough on this board to remember when we got sunsetted, that was one of the biggest things, the dissatisfiers for Sunset, was turning around and closing these cases. So y'all have made excellent headway in that. So good job, man. Congrats.
I appreciate that, and I'll make sure that the attorneys that work in this area are told about that. So thank you.
Yeah, that's excellent. Okay. Anything else for Mr. Perez? Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Education and Examination Division, John.
Good morning, presiding officer and board members. My name is John Schildwachter, and I represent the Education Examination Division today. I'm here to provide some statistics for y'all to enjoy. You can see we have, again, like most of our programs, we have the stats divided by the 2 fiscal years. They remain fairly consistent as far as pass rates go. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So this is Dr. Martin. I had a question for you. So that total pass rate, the magenta or whatever color that is on the end, am I reading that correctly, that we have a pass rate of 56.3 for 2024 and 63.8?
That's correct.
2023?
That's correct.
Now, is that first time through, or is that total, or do we delineate that?
This report does not delineate that. I believe those are first-time pass rates, but I can research that and get back to you on that.
Okay, it just seemed kind of low to me, but that may be what we've always been running. Thank you.
From what I've seen, it's been fairly consistent, and we're, of course, with fewer test takers throughout the year, it may skew that a little bit, but like I said, I will get that answer for you here as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Right. Anything else for John?
Leslie Campbell, quick question. Is the big stumbling block the jurisprudence exam? Does that seem to be the issue here?
These are, to my knowledge, these are not the jurisprudence exam results.
Okay. Where does that come into play?
Yeah,
From a
those,
statistical perspective.
John, I think those are the jurisprudence exams.
Okay. I'm sorry, wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I think, Leslie, to answer your question, I think a lot of people just see the term jurisprudence, look at the book, and think I can wing this pretty easily, and that everybody I know that's tried that has been very unsuccessful. You know several of them. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, I understand that. So I appreciate the report, and it has been very interesting to hear from some of my colleagues out of state that assumed that they could get through with a look and a prayer. So thank you very much for the report. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, John. That was E4, E5 compliance division. Steve, what do we need to know?
Well, we're doing all kinds of fun stuff. Good morning, board members. Steve Eaker with the compliance division. In terms of current project, we've been working with all divisions in the standard of care work group, specifically on public comment to the proposed rules. We're also working on other bill implementation teams for the medical and health related bills that passed during the 88th legislative session. We're continuing to work with IT and the software contractors, licensing, other agency departments to build on our successful migration of the podiatry program to Versa from the old systems. And now we're working on establishing the processes for the Texas licensing system, or TLS. We always continue ongoing work with enforcement, field inspections and licensing, and E&E, education and examination, and customer service with questions from licensees, and helping them with issues related to prescriber requirements for controlled substances or the PMP. In terms of outreach, Katie Bryce and I were just in San Antonio at the TPMA conference, and we spoke there, and we also hosted a table. We'll be at the Southwest Foot and Ankle Clinic in Las Colinas soon enough in September. We look forward to that. We have another health monitor. We had a health monitor newsletter in June, and we'll have another one coming up in early fall, and that will cover the topics we discussed today. We'll have an article about what's going on in podiatry, and we look forward to seeing everybody at the Southwest Foot and Ankle Clinic in Las Colinas. And then with the, I want to go back to the jurisprudence exam. Dr. Campbell, as you know, that that exam was a big deal, only given a couple times a year. And it was like an all-day test. And so right now, you know, they can take it when they want to, and maybe they're not taking it as seriously because they can go through PSI and just like preview it and then study and try again. But that concludes my report.
Wonderful. Thanks, Steve. And I will tell you, Steve, I know you seem to be, I don't know if it's because your email populates first when I hit reply to a question, but thanks to you and your office for always having a quick response to the myriad of random questions I get sent that I then refer to you. So thanks for doing that. It's a lot of extra work. I'm sure nobody looks forward to.
We love it. That's why we're here.
Great. That was E5, E6 Executive Office. Brandy.
Good morning, presiding officer and board members. My name is Brandy Myers. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of Administrative Services. And for our update today, it is the personnel update, and I'm really excited to announce and introduce to you Ms. Courtney Arbor. She is our new and permanent Executive Director, and she's here with us this morning. So I'm just going to turn it over to her to let her introduce herself and say a few things.
Thank you, Branding. Good morning, Dr. Motley and board members. I'm Courtney Arbor. I started with TDLR as I like that, Brandy, the permanent Executive Director as of June 1st. So I've been spending the last few weeks kind of getting my feet under me with all of our various programs and responsibilities. I first want to say thank you for your service on the board. I know several of you have been doing this for a very long time, and I know it's an other duty in a very busy schedule and life for you. So I want to say thank you for the time you spend. It's really helpful to us when we have, rules, conversations like this, even questions about our performance measures that we report and the timeliness of the closed cases. Dr. Motley, I appreciated your comment because that is always a goal, that we are being very thorough and responsive, but also as quickly moving to decision as we can so that things aren't left in the balance. So I just wanted to thank you. I spent several years at the Texas Workforce Commission prior to my time at TDLR. And so I very consistently think, what would the employer need here? And then what does the public need? And so I really appreciate that we have a staff here that I'm sure comes across in their comments that we're very focused on service to our employers, our licensees, and then the public who is served by you. So anyway, thank you for everything you do to help us as an agency and your feedback. Thank you.
Oh, well, that's great. Welcome, Courtney. I can't imagine trying to get my arms around what you're having to manage. That seems to be a rather large group.
I will say, Courtney Arbor, for the record, I will say I'm very happy to have such a strong and tenured staff who do not expect me to carry that alone. It's been a really eye-opening but great experience so far. We do a lot of good work here, and thank you for your part of that.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, welcome from all of us. For sure. Brandy, anything else from your side?
No, that was the shining moment from the executive office. Thank you.
All right. Letter F is our standard of care work group. And I give you the standard of care group was Ms. Terrazas, Dr. Lunsford, Dr. Campbell, and myself. It was about with some of the groups that we use for validation for CPR, et cetera. So whether it's American Red Cross, American Heart Association, or whoever we take for that certification. The other group that's just like them is the Health Safety Institute. So in your packet, that's abbreviated HSI. And it was really, the question was whether we can consider that an equivalent to CPR training for both just like the American Red Cross and just like the American Heart Association. And the idea is our shared vision through the standard of care work group is that it is the same and it's equivocal, and we should allow that. So that was the summary of our report. It was very neatly written for me if I just wanted to read the statement, but everybody has it in their packet. So that's a brief summary of that. Any questions about that work group report? Okay, do we need a motion on that one, Angelica? No. Okay.
No, sir.
So in summary, AHA, ARC, and HSI are all things we'll accept for CPR training as equivocals. Okay. That was F, standard of care. G, Ms. Pello, do you want to take this one?
I will. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Wendy Pello. I'm Senior Assistant General Counsel here at TDLR. I am temporarily filling in for this program. John Parker, who you had met at your last meeting, walked through the rules, has left the agency, so I will be filling in and making the presentation today on the proposed rules and the public comments that we received. The details about the specific proposed rules are on the agenda, but basically we're making quite a few changes to Chapter 130, which is the podiatry program rules. The details about the amendments and the new rules and the repeals are all listed in the agenda, but just want to highlight a few changes. I know John walked through the rules with you last time, section by section, so I won't do that again, but do just want to take a few moments to just provide a few highlights just as a refresher, then talk about the kind of like the procedural steps in publishing the rules, but then really focus most of our time on the public comments we received and the proposed rules that are affected by those public comments. So if that kind of works in terms of walking through this process, but we definitely want to get the advisory board's input when we get to those public comments and any proposed changes we want to make based on those comments. So I'll kind of jump in unless there's any questions. I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, I'll just start. Just some highlights again. A lot of these changes are coming from the 4-year rule review, and there are kind of 3 big changes that came out of that rule review. Some of those changes were increasing the number of training hours required by the Podiatric Medical Radiological Technician license, and those were recommendations that came out of the education examination work group. And there was a big discussion at your last meeting in May, kind of those changes in terms of online courses and the curriculum requirements. Another category still under rule review is what the department staff identified in terms of how can we streamline these rules, remove duplicate rules, reorganize the rules so they're more user-friendly, use plain talk language to make them easily to understand and easy to read, and those changes, and then also addressing a public comment that we received during that rule review process about the fees for an inactive status license, and then just making that clarification that there is no fee for the inactive status license. And then the other big group of changes this year is just changing the license terms for 3 different license types, and those would be effective January 1st, 2025. And so the rules reflecting that change from a 1-year to 2-year license, and then the application renewal fees that reflect those changes. And those 3 license types were the Podiatric Medical Radiological Technician registration, the hyperbaric oxygen certificate, and the nitrous oxide oxygen inhalation conscious sedation registration. So those were the 3 license types that we're moving from 1 year to 2 years. Just procedurally, you all met back in May, walked through the rules and made a recommendation that the rules be submitted to the Texas Register, published in the Texas Register, and open for public comment. And so those proposed rules were published in the Texas Register on June 21st, 2024. And the department received a comment from one interested party in response to the summary of the proposed rules that we're required to post on our public website. We post that at the same time we file them. It's before the rules are actually published, so we had a comment there. And then we also received 2 comments during the official 30-day public comment period. So you have all 3 of those public comments in your materials. And so after reviewing those public comments, the department is proposed to make a few changes based on some of those comments, but we definitely want the input from the advisory board. And so when we get those, I'll talk about the public comments, and I can pull up the rules. You have copies of the rules in your packet as well, and I'll pull up on my screen here in a moment, just showing kind of the red line changes and what would be changed. or the three comments. I'll just hit each comment. We can talk about each comment and what we need to change or not change during that time. The first comment was the comment that we received in response to the summary of the proposed rules, and this the comment was disagreeing with the increase in the number of training hours for the podiatric medical radiological technicians. It's basically commenting they didn't think the additional training seemed to be warranted. The department reviewed this and thought this increase in the change in the hours was necessary result of moving to an online course, expanding the clinical requirements, kind of the details that were set out at the May meeting from the Education Examination Work Group and as part of the rule proposal. So the department was not proposing any changes based on this comment, but we wanted to open that up to the advisory board for discussion as well. Any comments, concerns?
This is Dr. Martin. Yeah, I can just review a little bit those changes. I think the comment was that the hours went from 25 to 40, I think is what he said, but actually it went from 20 to 45. But as we stated in our meeting back in May, some of those hours were already hidden in the program, and the candidates or the students were not getting credit for it. In other words, on the books we have the course for 20 hours, and when we went to adding the X-ray views and on the online course, the students were actually spending about 32 hours instead of 20 hours. So there's about 12 hours that they were not getting credit for on the books. So that's about half of that 25-hour increase. And then the other, increased hours are related to updates of the course that, as you mentioned, that reinforce the digital X-ray production and quality of digital images. And there was about a 2-hour increase in the testing in the online modules. And then we added some more X-ray views to delineate training for taking X-rays of the ankle. And altogether that adds up to those 25 hours. So I still feel that that's those required hours are a good addition to the program requirements that will assure that our assistants are getting the training that they need. I do agree with some of the comments that I guess it was a doctor that made that podiatric X-rays are very safe, and we don't need to add a lot of extra hours. And I agree with that, but I think that this program at the hour requirements that we have now will produce podiatry assistants that not only take X-rays safely, but will give them the experience they need to take them a good quality image without having to repeat the image. So that's basically my comments on that.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to pull up the rule here in case you need to see it. I think it was 130.35, the radio technologist. In case anyone needs to see it. Any other comments or?
Yeah, I think Dr. Martin's always been at the forefront of this and keeping it organized, keeping us on par with other states, keeping us ahead of other states. And he gave you a great summary there, and I agree with his assessment as well that it's those increases are there for a reason.
Right. Okay. And like I said, the department was not anticipating changes. So are there any other comments or questions on that? Okay.
Leslie Campbell, I would agree. This is a matter of public safety, and I don't think that in increasing the hours is going to be burdensome to these folks. I think it's appropriate, and now that we're in the digital age, we need to make sure that we have not only substantive X-rays, but there's clear delineation and that they're accurate. So I would wholly agree and echo both Dr. Martin's and Dr. Motley's recommendations and approve of the change. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Stop sharing just so you have the discussion first. The next comment we received was from the Health and Safety Institute about the comment on the proposed rules. And this was, again, about wanting to have their organization added as a sponsor of the basic and advanced CPR program. Again, as the work group report was stating, right now the current rules and the proposals just have the American Heart Association and the American Red Cross as sponsors. And so wanted to add, Health and Safety Institute had supplied information about the reasons why they should be included in terms of they're accredited, they have the same standards, they're also recognized as a sponsor for CPR training along with the American Heart Association, American Red Cross. So you have those details in the comment. So the department was agreeing with this comment, and it sounds like is the work group, the standard care work group was also agreeing with this comment to include the Health and Safety Institute here. So I will show you where that shows up in the rules. And this is down under Rule 130.37. It's in with the podiatric medical radiological technicians and in the training about the CPR training. And so this is where, I apologize, don't mean to make you nauseous as I scroll through the rules. This is where the change would be. And so it's, American Red Cross, American Heart Association, American Red Cross, or the Health and Safety Institute. And so that's where that changes. And it sounds like the work group and the department are in agreement in making that change. I didn't know if they open that up for additional discussion for anyone on the advisory board. All right, and then the third comment we received was from the Texas Medical Association, TMA, and they had submitted comments on the proposed rules and kind of in 3 issues. The first being they had requested to amend the proposed rules to reinsert language that was initially removed regarding the purpose of the professional designations of a practitioner, and this is under 130.50 subsection C. Second, TMA was strongly recommending that the podiatry rules be amended to only include the identifiers listed for podiatrists under the Healing Art Identification Act, which is Texas Occupations Code Chapter 104. And the changes they were wanting was under Rules 130.50 A and B. And then third, they were strongly recommending that references to podiatrists as quote unquote physicians be removed from the rules under Chapter 130. The department reviewed their comment, kind of reviews with parts and try to address what we'd be in agreement with, and then kind of discuss the other parts and maybe just kind of break it down by each of the sections. In terms of the purpose of the professional designations, there was a provision in the current rules that said, discussing the purpose of having those professional designations. The proposed rules were removing that, and so they were proposing to put it back in. We'd be agreeable to that, but wanted to open that up for discussion on terms of with the advisory board, and I will share that rule again. And it's under 130.50. So. And this is the section. It's the practitioner identification rule in 150. This is the language that, I'll scroll down. C is what we were proposing in the proposed rules had been removed, and they were proposing to put it back for transparency to the public and making that distinction between the scope of practice of the podiatrist and other medical practitioners. And so this would be putting it back in. Didn't know if you had any comments or from the advisory board or objections to putting that provision back in, retaining that.
Sorry, this is Motley. What I don't understand the advantage in having, and you're talking about putting C back in, correct?
Right. This was proposed to be removed. It was kind of stating the purpose. They were proposing to put it back in. So this is what it would look like, just putting it back in. We put it back in exactly. So whether you agree with that change or not, so just open that up.
This is Renee Peach. I kind of feel like we took out C because it's technically redundant of A and B. A basically says that you have to state that you're a doctor of podiatric medicine. C says that they want you to basically say that you're different. So in our definition of our DPM, I think that falls within that category of C. So A and B to me encompass what C says. I think that's partly why we took it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Peach. I mean, I've been around this board for a minute, and I could almost tell you what TMA was going to write. I should have just written it for them. I agree with Dr. Peach. C is a redundancy. I mean, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to say this person is a podiatrist, or this person is a allopathic or osteopathic orthopedic surgeon. And I think it's A and B make that clear with both the degree and both terms, such as foot surgeon, podiatric surgeon, foot specialist. If their idea behind adding C back in is to inform the public that we are not whole body doctors, I'm not going to treat your spine or anything else, I don't think A and B can make it more plain to a reasonable person.
Okay.
So my recommendation would be no for C.
To not put it back in, being redundant.
Correct.
Right. And that may have been why it was taken out as redundant, and also it kind of just states the purpose, which not that can't be in rules, but we often don't. You'll find the purpose more in the preamble part of the rules package versus the rules. Not that it can't be there, but it sounds like it's not something you'd want to put back in. Okay.
This is Dr. Martin. I agree.
Okay.
And this is Dr. Campbell. I also agree.
Okay.
I agree with that. It's redundant information.
Okay. All right. That's why we definitely want to get your take on that, and I appreciate your providing it, especially the historical knowledge that you have in terms of kind of where this provision came from, if it's redundant, and we've got it clear here. So I appreciate that. All right. The second concern they had was with the use of the word physician in the proposed rules. I think in our rules, what we agreed, what we were trying to make sure every reference was put to podiatric physician, not physician on its own. And so the only change we would, based on that, would recommend was under 130.50. And that rule, actually, we did just a search of kind of anywhere the word physician was used without podiatric physician, and that we only found it in one rule with the sexual misconduct, and so that would be the one place where we would make those changes. Is just to make sure every reference to physician is podiatric physician, just for clarification.
Okay.
We weren't taking
Seems
position.
reasonable to me.
Yeah, and the terms are used kind of, you have podiatry, you have podiatric physician, you have practitioner kind of used throughout the rules, and the definition of practitioner was amended as part of that to be clear up front in the definitions that those three terms were used interchangeably throughout here, but this would be the only place I said in the proposed rules where we found it without just that clarification. So we would add that, and there's just a few instances here. And then we also have other references within here to the practitioner. They're also, so both terms are used within this section. Okay. And then the next part of their comment was regarding the comment that any references to the podiatric physician or to any professional identification not listed in the Healing Art Identification Act should be removed from the rules. The department was declining to make that change, removing professional identifications used by podiatrists at this stage in the rulemaking. That's a substantive and significant change that would require notice and an opportunity for public comment. This is not a change that we can make at this stage of the rulemaking. And I'll go back to the 150 where it's in this section. And maybe just recommend that this issue go to one of the advisory board work groups, maybe standard care, one of the other work groups you may want to send it to, and just do review, research, further consideration of this should be something to look at as part of a future rulemaking. But we weren't recommending any changes based on this part of the comment to the proposed rules, but open that up for discussion with the advisory board. And this is kind of where they had pointed out these identification terms, but here and then just kind of wherever in the rules package.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can set our goals for something down the road, but as for change at this time, I'm not understanding the benefit of it.
Leslie Campbell, this is a very broad discussion. I understand what TMA is trying to do, and I'm sure that everyone on the advisory board is fully aware of the underlying meaning of and the substantive meaning of what these folks are trying to do. I will also tell you that we are listed as physicians in federal mandate under Medicare without the podiatric designation. So just FYI to the department, I just wanted you to make that fully aware of that. So again, I think this needs to be brought up if there's any concern. It needs to have full discussion at a later time. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Campbell's and Dr. Molly's comments, and probably this would be important to have some definitive designation following some research into how we're listed with Medicare.
Thank you. That's where we're probably recommending that this go to an advisory board to see all the different places where references are used, look at the various laws that may apply. They had cited this one particular statute, the Healing Arts Identification Act, but there may be other, other statutes, both federal and state, in terms of what the differences in the terminology. So, like I said, more research is needed, but it's also kind of beyond the scope of this proposed rulemaking to remove any professional identifications at this point. Are there any other comments or questions? Comments on the rules, comments on the public comments? If not, then we be, the department will be asking for a motion recommendation from the advisory board, recommendation from the advisory to the commission that the commission adopt the proposed rules with the changes we discussed today. And again, the changes would just be to add the no changes. There would be no changes regarding the hours for the radiological technicians. There would be a change to add the Health and Safety Institute as a CPR provider. There would be no change to add that clarification back into 130.50, that subsection C about the scope or the purpose of the designations, and there'd be no change. There'd be changes to adding Podiatric physician just to that one section 150.57, just where we to clean up those references. So it says Podiatric physician instead of physician, and there'd be no other changes regarding changes to professional identification. So it's kind of what we're changing, what not changing. So based on what we agreed to change today, that would be the recommendation we'd be asking for to send to the commission for their consideration.
Yeah, I think we all agree.
Clarification. Can I get a motion?
I'll
Thank
motion
you.
that.
Second.
Second, Brown. And Helica, you want to do a roll call vote?
Yes, I just confirm. So the motion was made by Dr. Motley and seconded by Dr. Martin. Is that correct? Or Dr. Brown, sorry. Dr.
Yeah.
Brown, okay. Thank you. And yes, I will do a roll. Dr. Campbell?
Agree. Yes.
Dr. Brown?
Agree.
Dr. Martin?
Agree.
Dr. Peach?
Agree.
Kristen Lucky?
Agree.
Yvette Hernandez? Oh, did I lose her? Oh,
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Did you agree? I'm sorry.
I do.
And presiding officer, Dr. Motley.
I agree.
Motion passes.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. And appreciate your feedback and your input on these changes in the proposed rules.
Thanks for doing that, Ms. Powell. That's a big pain in the rear, keeping all that stuff straight and keeping us organized. And I appreciate that. That's a lot of work to do that.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
And Helga, do we need any appointments or reappointments of work groups?
Yes, sir. We have 2 spots available. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Bear with me. Okay, so we have a spot available on the enforcement work group. And then we have a public member position open for the education examination work group. I'm not sure if Ms. Lucky would like to be appointed to that one since we have Ms. Hernandez and Ms. Terrazas on other work groups.
Yes.
Okay. That was
Perfect.
quick and easy. And so what we have left is for the enforcement work group.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If anybody would like to be appointed to that one.
And Helga, do we need any appointments or reappointments of work groups? You know how it goes. If
Yes,
you miss
sir,
a
we have
meeting,
2.
you're going to get appointed to something. Those are just rules.
Those that mean Dr. Lund. Oh no, Dr. Lundford's already on there.
But we need a public member.
So let's see. We could do Ms. Hernandez, Ms. Terrazas, or Ms. Terrazas isn't here.
There you go.
Okay.
Ms. Terrazas for the win. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for doing that, Angelica. Any recommendations for agenda items for our next board meeting, which hasn't been set, by the way, but any recommendations, things that we need to talk about, things to get out in front of? I don't know if it's something a work group would like to look at to make recommendations, but I can tell you, at least in this part of North Texas, there seems to be a trend towards placement of nerve stimulators. And I don't know if anybody has an experience with that or is willing to offer something that I think is a work group. It's newer technology that's available to us, obviously. I think everybody probably has their own suppositions as to the benefits of it, biological or financial. I'm not quite sure, but I think that's probably something that we can at least put on a back burner looking forward, because I can tell you that's going to come up in a hurry if you haven't already seen it on the complaint side. Has no one else been getting calls wondering if this is a good idea?
Dr. Motley, can you clarify, I don't know if it's appropriate in public session, but are we talking about a device similar to what Medtronic is producing for spine implementation?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it's the new way to alleviate spine pain and diabetic neuropathic changes. And it is a hot button issue. For purposes of discussion, we could take this to a different meeting, but it was my understanding that this was supposed to be implemented through pain management.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think it's probably through one of our work groups we look at that, like you say. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. That way we can keep those of us that seem to get in trouble with things out of trouble.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? We don't always have an open discussion because state level meeting, but we can certainly make recommendations for agenda items for next time, which we did and didn't hear anything else. But last chance before we close it down.
If if you think of anything else, you're more than welcome to email me as well. And I do see Wendy's hand up real quick.
Yes, thank you. Wendy Pello, TDLR. I just wanted to get clarification on as it relates to the TMA public comment on the issue about the further research on the professional designations and that research, whether you wanted to send that to a work group or not.
Oh, I think that's a great idea to send it to a work group. I think it's a great idea. Well, it does a couple of things. Number one, it gets us more information. Number two, I think they feel heard and not dismissed. And that's exactly what we want. And we'll evaluate that. And then the work group can make recommendations from there too.
I think it's a great idea, Dr. Martin.
We could send it to standard of care, or if there's a professional that Steve don't get jump in recommend.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can cover both those topics. If you'd like to have a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Well,
if nothing else, go ahead. Somebody's talking. I'm sorry I stepped on you. Nobody wants to admit it? Okay. All right. Well, that concludes our meeting on Monday, August 19th at 10:50, and we're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
Have a good week.